Well, Alice, as luck would have it, I pretty much get to debut the show I wanted to do originally today on WTIC right here. And it actually, it's more personal to us anyway because it's got to do with Megan Watros, who was joined us. Remember, that's the mom from Darien, Connecticut. She joined us a couple weeks ago. And she's the one who has a 7-year-old in school, and her daughter saw Julian is a Mermaid. The teacher read it to her. Julian is a Mermaid, about this little boy who sees essentially women in drag and decides he wants to be in drag. And many of the pictures, and he throws on a skirt and a hat. And many of the pictures are illustrations. Almost all of them actually are him in his underwear or some set.
Right.
And he's a 7-year-old boy pictured. The whole thing is about he at one point. Well, he's wearing his dress and his fake tiara and whatever. One point he wonders, or the book wonders, if Abuela is how she's going to think about this. Abuela comes into the room and gives him a necklace and makes him more dragish. So and
then takes him to the Pride Parade.
Essentially, exactly. So that's the book, and so they say that's about acceptance. So that's why that's an SEL book, that social emotional learning, because that's about acceptance. And if you say anything about the book, you're promoting violence and hate and
you hate acceptance.
Right, you hate acceptance, etc. And as if we don't know.
Of course, the book is also sometimes used to literally teach gender identity. There's all kinds of lessons, as Megan Watros said in that interview. You know, she found online and showed them all kinds of lesson plans to use the thing to promote gender identity, about the author talking about how the book is about gender identity and all that stuff. Like, it's literally not just about acceptance.
Well, exactly. If you go to pride.com, which is not which is not a site for lions, it says Pride, 21 inspiring LGBT-themed children's books. Julian is a mermaid. In an exuberant picture book, a glimpse of costume mermaids leaves one boy flooded with wonder and ready to dazzle the world.
Of course it does.
Well, while riding his subway home from the pool with his abuelo one day, Julian notices 3 women spectacularly dressed up. Their hair billows in brilliant hues. Their dresses end in fishtails, and their joy fills the train car. Oh. When Julian gets home, daydreaming about the magic he's seen, all he can think about is dressing up just like the ladies in his own fabulous mermaid costume. A butter yellow curtain for his tail, the fronds of a potted fern for his headdress. But what will Abuela think about the mess he makes? And even more importantly, what will she think about how Julian sees himself? Mesmerizing and full of heart, Jessica Love's author-illustrated debut is a jubilant picture of self-love and a radiant celebration of individuality. That is from Pride.com. That's 21 inspiring LGBTQ plus.
I mean, it also won the Stonewall Book Award, which should tell you also what it's about.
This is a trans book. That's what this book is. So,
right. But of course, when you protest, they go, it's just about a kid dressing up as a mermaid.
I know,
it's just imagination. What are you talking about? There's nothing trans in here. Nothing trans about it. It's completely in your head.
In looking, in getting ready for my show this morning, because this is in Connecticut, where this book was read to the kids, and then the mom had a problem with it, and then they all attacked the mom for, of course, going to not going through proper channels and creating a fuss about this.
Of course, when she went through the proper channels, they screamed at her. They
condescended to her, etc., etc. And so, they got it to be an agenda item, and they decided the book was the book committee decided the book was fine.
The people who picked the book in the first place decided that they chose correctly.
The board of directors of Pride.com. So anyway, they had last night but before I get to that, if you think, by the way, so I was looking for one of these readings of Julian, whatever.
Yeah.
And I saw the 2 I got before, so I just randomly hit a third one. I wanted a new reading for everybody to hear. I did not comb the internet for this. This is just...
It was just the next one you happened to click.
This is the next one I happened to click. So, give me one second here. And here it is. Here we go. And this is a little TV show that's on YouTube where the book reading happens.
Hey there, welcome to Queer Kid Stuff. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Teddy.
Today we're doing a very special Storytime episode with Drag Queen Story Hour. We'll be reading a book called Julian is a Mermaid, written and illustrated by Jessica Love. Queer kid stuff. You are enough here at Queer Kid Stuff. You ready, Teddy?
Ready, Lindsay.
Okay, let's bring in the queen.
No, hold on. Before the queen comes in, there's about to be a very gaudy, over-made-up, horrific-looking drag queen appearing.
Okay.
This literal website is called Queer Kid Stuff.
Yeah.
We're talking about a book in a segment that is... A book is for 7-year-olds. So this segment, Queer Kid Stuff, is for 7-year-olds.
Right. That's what they think. That's what.
What does it mean to be queer, Alice?
It's sort of, well, it used to be an insult, but now it's sort of an umbrella.
What does it mean?
It's an umbrella term. That's one of those that you can't define. I would say.
Is it a term for an umbrella?
No.
Okay, then what is it? What does it mean?
It has to do with sexual preferences.
Okay, sexual preferences. Sexual, isn't in as in who you'd like to have sex with.
Right.
Okay, so this is the audience for this show, Queer Kid Stuff, are children.
Right.
Who like to have sex with certain people.
Right.
Okay.
Because that's, when it comes down to it, I know obviously there's more to being in love with somebody than wanting to have sex with them. But when you come down to it, that's the difference between platonic relationships and romantic ones is the sex part, correct?
So queer means gay?
It can mean gay. It can mean, we know people like this who kind of hang around the gay community and don't really specify exactly what they're into and seem to mostly be in heterosexual relationships too. But that's who I see using it mostly.
Okay.
Or like, non-binary
what's that thing
people or whatever.
When it says that Asia is to Australia as America is to South America, what are those called?
Analogies?
Okay, so would it be fair analogy to say that Queer Kids Club is to sleeping with the same sex as Bisexual Kids Club is to sleeping with both sexes?
I don't know. I think queer can include things like bisexual and whatever. I think it means that you're part of the LGBTQ whatever community, but you don't necessarily have one of the other labels.
Okay. So, but is this having Bisexual Kids Club it's on par with Queer Kids Club? Yeah. You looking for something to
No,
wipe
I'm
it
okay.
on? Are you sure? That was it? That's all.
You want to throw me the wipes? Okay.
No,
I'm sick now, you guys. Tom got me sick now, so now I'm sick.
I love when you're sick, I got you sick. When I'm sick, I'm just sick.
You were sick first. If I were sick and then you got sick after that, then I would have I think James got you sick, but you got sick before me.
Can I listen
and
to
we
Queer
happen
Kids
to
Club,
know
please?
each other pretty well. I would say that the problem was
you
got
wanted to be romantic with me, and so that's
that's the price I pay.
That's why you need to learn.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to Queer Kids Club because we're about to meet the queen.
Yep.
Hello, I am Angel.
Hi, Angel. Okay, what are your pronouns and how do you identify?
My pronouns are her, she when I'm in drags, and when I'm out of drag are he, him.
Story time, story time, story time.
We're getting to it, Teddy.
I brought in one of my favorite books. I hope you like it too. This is Julian is a Mermaid, and it is illustrated and written by Jessica Love.
You know that's going. So you get the music through the whole thing. It's Queer Kids Club. It's fun. And the gaudy man who's Angel goes through the book, and we see the 7-year-old kid mostly naked. That's fine. That's it. So that's what Megan wanted to...
What she objected to her 7-year-old being exposed to.
Okay, so let's start here. This is the anatomy of a Board of Education meeting. It may sound boring. It's not as boring as it sounds.
Oh, I'm into Board of Education.
Oh, I know. So first of all,
I don't think it sounds boring.
Here is the chairman of the Board of Education. His name is David Deneen. This is Darien, Connecticut. A very upscale, well-to-do, beautiful person's town. These are all the best people in the world. So this is Deneen, like Culline's friend Deneen. Now listen, he's very measured, but remember as he's talking that the issue at hand and what he's circling around is a book about a 7-year-old in his underwear who's learning to be transvestite or transgender.
Right, or at a minimum dress and drag.
Here's Janine.
With over 4,600 students in the Darien public school system, we have over 9,200 parents and guardians. We have many ideas, thoughts, values. We have left, right, center, and we talk about almost everything to do with our children's education. We will continue to listen, learn, and work with the experienced professionals, parents, and students to stay focused on our students. I would ask that you continue to email, call, and speak through your local school teachers and administrators. Reach out to the administration and the board as you see fit. This way we can understand the needs and challenges of our students and have...
You know what he's doing here? He's establishing the structure of the school committee being, though big and vast, very organized with all sorts of pipelines and processes. And so it's all there for you. We have many things. We're used to many belief systems, etc. This is this is a sounding board and an organization that we're used to opinions, etc. But we have a structure made for you to deal with this. Now, if there was somebody who was, if there was a man caught masturbating in the second grade's bathroom, and this was the subsequent meeting, and somebody had taken the wrong route to communicate the problem, had, in other words, gone to the local Facebook page or whatever, he wouldn't start like that. He would start like, I understand you're all very disturbed that we had an incident in the bathroom today.
Right.
I want you to know that we hear you. Right. But he's not. What he's doing is starting to build the case against Megan. Starting past the inciting incident.
Right.
So forget it. He's erased the incident of her daughter being read a story about a 7-year-old boy taking a trans journey with pictures showing him in his underwear.
Have them understood in the right context.
Are you ready,
of the
Teddy?
issue.
Whoa. Hold on.
Is that the drag queen back again?
Yes.
Social media, Facebook posts, anonymous blanket emails do not always have the correct context and only add to the challenges and spread misinformation. Our focus has to be the whole student.
So, in other words, don't go on Facebook. Don't go on message boards or communicate freely to yourselves in the community. Keep it contained right here. So in other words, keep it contained right here so we have time to explain away things and to CYA.
Right. And so that we can ultimately ignore you. We can say we're listening. We can take your calls. You can show up to the school board meeting and say stuff to us, but then we don't actually have to do anything about it. If the media and other people start hearing about it and being outraged, then we have to start to do something. And then we actually feel some pressure to actually, but they want to keep it all internal.
Yes.
Right? All the time.
Right. And he's mentioned that we have all these departments and ways to communicate and the process and structure and this and that. And there's all sorts of ways that we can make sure that things are properly gotten around to everybody. Now, that was not provided when they decided to just read about the 7-year-old naked boy. There was no structure and proper way to root through parents to make sure that there's a full understanding and everybody gets a full grasp of
Yeah. As a matter of fact, she was told she can't opt out of that.
Well, that's right, but that's not even there yet.
So it's not like they put in some process to check with parents first.
Right.
I mean, that's like an imaginary world where that happens.
Right. No, they have no process. You, the public who pays for them, you need a long process. Don't start going directly to news sources.
Right. They get access to your kid to do whatever they want with no input from you. But if you want input into what happens with your kid, you have to go plead with them through
Right.
their channels that they choose and have no power to make them do anything.
Right, because if you go and do it in a public square somewhere, well, that makes it very uncomfortable for this.
But isn't that the same as the thing the left always does, where it's like they hate when you actually show people the things that they say
of course,
and do?
but what he's saying is that, and they'll say more of this, is that if you do that, that's very uncomfortable for them. It's very uncomfortable for staff and for the people in the Board of Ed meeting, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the initial incident that made parents uncomfortable, that's fine. Your discomfort, parents, that's fine.
It's probably something you need to work on, actually.
Exactly.
Do not always have the correct context and only add to the challenges and spread misinformation. Our focus has to be the whole student, the physical and mental health.
Right there is the problem. Of course, that's what Megan said. That
Right.
said, our focus has to be the whole student, the physical and mental health. In other words, acceptance. That's a concept of social emotional learning. Mm-hmm. Acceptance. We have to make sure that I accept Billy and Billy accepts me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there you go. That's how you squeeze. That's how you squeeze little boys naked and that kind of curriculum into the classrooms. It's about acceptance. Yeah, but like a cat rapes a gorilla. It's about acceptance. The gorilla forgives him.
Also, by the way, didn't Megan say that this book was read in like mid-October?
I think so.
And this story didn't break until the first week of December, which means that...
Well, it was written up. She brought it up late October in a. No, you're right. So
she didn't. She went through all the channels and talked to them and all the stuff and did all the things that they're saying she was supposed to do. And then they said, "F you, we're just not doing anything."
Well, then he yelled at her.
Yeah, he yelled at her
because she sent out an email to other parents.
Right, and
you're not supposed to. Americans aren't supposed to be communicating with each other unless the Board of Education knows what they're talking about, lest it have something to do with them.
Right.
Of each student.
Shut up, asshole. There you go. You're getting deleted. Queer Kids Club is gone.
Yeah. They really want to read you that book.
In a safe.
Hold on.
Misinformation. Our focus has to be the whole student, the physical and mental health of each student in a safe and secure learning environment. Our priorities, as I mentioned at the last meeting, that will keep us focused on our students are the mental and physical well-being of our students and staff, the safety and security of our students and staff.
Now, my question while he's reading all these things, these bullet points of what the priorities are, is which one of these equals we need to show 7-year-olds a book with a naked 7-year-old? Which one of that? How does that contribute to any of these priorities? What thing in this school
Gay
means
kids
that
won't be safe unless you can read them the book about the naked child.
Gay 7-year-olds.
Apparently.
Our commitment to our facilities and our infrastructure, supporting our teachers through our new contract, our commitment to our communications committee and delivering on a comprehensive communication plan, and continued work on transparency through the curriculum.
What are you trying to say, Ensign?
No. Go play.
So like all these things, by the way, notice the last thing he does. Last thing he mentions?
Mm-hmm.
Teachers through our new contract.
Sorry, right there.
Our commitment to our facilities and our infrastructure, supporting our teachers through our new contract, our commitment to our communications.
Supporting our teachers through our new contract. So during the public comment section, guess who was called up first?
Megan Waters?
No, the head of the teachers union in the town. He gets up there and says, "Oh, by the way, thanks so much for letting me up first. My wife will be very happy that I'm going to be able to get home on time." So his name is Barry Palmer. Here's just a few cuts from Barry Palmer. This tells you all you need to know.
I'm sure it doesn't come as a surprise to any of you that the recent national publicity regarding our curriculum has acutely impacted staff morale. The misinformation and fear-mongering associated with this public conversation has been damaging to the educational process.
Did they not read the book to the kids?
Yeah, what part was? Did he say misinformation or disinformation?
He
But
said
which part was
misinformation and fear-mongering.
So, but yeah, they read the book. So which part was misinformation and fear-mongering? They're reading this book to your kid in the school.
Right. So unless the misinformation was that there's not a book about a 7-year-old taking a trans journey with pictures of a 7-year-old taking a trans journey being read to 7-year-olds, if that really didn't happen, then that is misinformation. If that did, then the onus really should be on him.
Well, yeah, but it's back to the libs of TikTok thing. To them, misinformation, or like Fauci and COVID misinformation, to them, misinformation means playing videos of them that are unpopular. It means telling people what they actually do. They hate that.
Right.
Because when you tell people what they actually do, people get mad at them and they're like, look at all the misinformation people are using to make people mad at us. Like, no, you put that information out there. If it's misinformation, then you did it.
Right. All the videos of middle-aged dudes twerking in front of 5-year-olds is not misinformation unless there's not a dude twerking. If there is, then that's pretty much case closed. You need no more context than that.
Teachers do not have the ability to publicly defend themselves or correct misinformation, and we depend on administration to set the record straight for us. In the future, when these instances occur...
By the way, he is a teacher who is publicly defending himself.
Right. Teachers are hoping these falsehoods will be addressed swiftly and emphatically. I'm in agreement that there should be more stakeholder voices in the curriculum review process. Teachers, students, and parents can provide very valuable insights that should be represented when a resource is questioned.
Now, that's the trickery of the thing. There should be more stakeholders involved.
Yeah.
So
you get to be one of the many voices that gets to weigh in on which creepy thing we're going to read to your kid. But we'll all reach that conclusion together. It takes a village, am I right?
Well, but hold on. Listen to this.
I cannot for the life of me understand how someone can go on national TV to complain about a board curriculum policy before they have ever attended a board curriculum or board policy subcommittee meeting. At best, this represents poor judgment.
How can you talk about the books unless you go to one of our midday book meeting decision meetings? Well, these are parents. The assumption is that if I skip a meeting, it's not going to be the meeting where all the child porn is greenlit. That's the assumption. The assumption is that if I'm going to miss a meeting, I'm not going to miss the meeting on whether the 7-year-old boy is going to have underwear on or not.
Right. Right, just like you don't think you're going to miss a meeting and they're going to show porn in school, right? Like there are some things that you just have a baseline expectation that the curriculum review board isn't going to do. But no, these are experts. Just like what's his face at the beginning? I don't know if that was the superintendent or the school board guy or what, but he said at the beginning, like, our team of experts is going to let the curriculum review experts. Mm-hmm. It's just this appeal to authority garbage. Like, you don't understand there's a very deep and nuanced and intellectual reason why we had to read your child this book. And, after you've, been brainwashed to come to understand all this stuff that we understand, then you can weigh in on whether or not you think the drag show book should be read to the 7-year-old.
That's totally right.
Then you're allowed to have an opinion.
Yes.
Once you've gone to all the gender criticism classes and you have a gender studies degree, then you can decide if you want us to raise your child with no gender and give them queer pronouns.
Mr. Principal, this is Tom Shattuck. I have a serious issue. My daughter said that she watched Two Girls, One Cup in class today. Oh, Mr. Shattuck, did you miss the meeting? Oh, I must have missed. Sorry, my bad, sir. That's on me. Sorry for the misinformation.
At worst, it's exploiting our children's education in order to score political points or raise public profiles.
Our children's education.
Regardless, this behavior should be called out for what it is and not be tolerated. Ask yourselves, would you want to work in a community that regularly accepts and normalizes these antics?
Would you? It's these antics. It's them.
I'm not feeling good without a screen.
Okay.
Go get used to it.
Everybody lost their iPads today.
It's a misinformation.
I cannot. Regardless, this behavior should be called out for what it is and not be tolerated.
This behavior. These are parents who are worried. Guys, out of here. Out. Okay.
Right now, please. Right now. Right now. You're going to lose it for another day.
Don't do that.
You're going to lose it for another day if you keep touching those wires. You have 5
Cyril,
seconds to get out of here.
Santa's watching. It's very close
5,
to Christmas.
4, 3, 2.
Can you
Thank
imagine being talked to by a teacher and a union person like this?
At worst, it's exploiting our children's education in order to score political points or raise public profiles. Regardless, this behavior should be called out for what it is and not be tolerated. Ask yourselves, would you want to work in a community that regularly accepts and normalizes these antics?
Would you want to work in a community where the parents get upset when we show pictures of mostly naked boys? Can you imagine? Cyril, Santa will not give you any presents. You will not get anything this year. He is watching you right now. Right now.
5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2. Thank you.
Imagine, for this guy to put it all on. Imagine how much. Can you fuck off, please?
Well, also, I mean, I could see if I raised an uproar about a book that you could say I was doing it to score political points because I'm a political person, but you can't make that claim about Megan Watros. It's just not in her DNA that she's political at all. She's not like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the most ridiculous claim to make, to say that she's doing it to score political points. Like, what are you saying? She's some sneaky conservative activist or something? I don't think that that's true of her.
Of course it's not. No, she's a lady from Darien. There's a certain life you want. It's a Burberry life and a BMW X7 and happy, healthy kids in a beautiful town. That's it. It's a nice life. She didn't ask for this. Why do you think we get the disclaimer every time she talks somewhere that she's got no problem with LGBT? Anyway, this guy's even better. This is Barry Palmer, the union honcho and social studies teacher.
Every couple of months since I've been the union president, there has been some sort of outcry or bashing of staff in this district, followed by an overwhelming outpouring of support from parents. I understand the majority of parents love the teachers and the administrators in this district and support the work we do. But this cycle needs to stop. It's not good. It is not good for the district. Teachers are leaving the district. It's hollowing out the district. And worst of all, it's bad for our children. So I'm asking, be adults, be mature. If you have a question about a resource, ask the teacher how the resource was used.
Be adults, be mature. If you have a question about a resource, your effing resource is groomer porn, you effing creep. If you have a problem with our resource, it's such total, progressive speak too. Mm-hmm. Total. And somebody has a problem with our resource, your resource is showing
and not
kid
even a
in
problem.
his underwear.
Not even a problem. A question about it.
Right.
And ask the teacher how it was used. You can come and ask us what we're doing, and then you're supposed to walk away and be satisfied with that answer. You're not supposed to come to them and say, I don't want you reading this to my kid. End of discussion.
Right.
You're supposed to come to them and say, oh, expert teacher, why did you read my child this pornographic book? And then they'll explain it to you, and then you're supposed to go, oh, okay, now I understand why you had to groom my child. That's totally makes sense now. Good job.
Right.
I love teachers and grooming.
Right. It's like, yeah, if
That's
you have
the
a problem
only
with it, if you have a
acceptable
problem
answer
with it, just go over to the rejection of objection department, and they'll handle it fairly for you there. And obviously that's where you go to get rejected.
Be adults, be mature. If you have a question about a resource, ask the teacher how the resource was used. There is no such thing as a perfect resource. It's about how you use it.
No, it's not about how you use it. If it's something that's showing a child in his underwear, that's end of story. Not how you... No, we used it to affirm kids. Well, that's fine. You're still under arrest, but you can feel good about it, I guess. How you use it. Man.
Such thing as a perfect resource. It's about how you use it. If you want to, you could find a flaw, or if you can look for something to complain about in any resource we use. So,
well, one, that doesn't bode well. How many of the resources have the subjects not wearing clothes, the underage subjects?
Please be an adult, do what's best for your children, and follow the appropriate channels to
How
address
much of
your
a threat
concerns.
does that sound like?
Thank you.
Do what's best for your children.
Thank you, Barry.
Yep.
Would hate if something happened to their education.
You imagine somebody shows your kid a book with naked kids in it, and they tell you, you better be an adult about this.
It's insane behavior.
So this is Megan Watros then gets up there, and I think this is just a masterpiece. This is a couple minutes long, but it's worth it. I can stop at any time, so let me know else.
Hello, good evening. My name is Megan Watros. I'm here tonight because there has been a breakdown in trust with this administration, and I'm concerned that my opt-out of the family life education will not be honored. And I want to be clear, I'm here tonight advocating for my 5 and 7-year-old children. This conversation has never been anti-teacher. It has always been a conversation about the age appropriateness of gender education for elementary school children. My family and I, we support the teachers in this community. We always have, but I have a responsibility to protect my children from inappropriate material. So yes, I am going to be an adult, and I'm going to stand up for my most important thing in my life, and those are my 2 kids.
That's a great line that she had that ready, that she's ticked off. Mm-hmm. That's great.
So I just want to be clear here. I'm concerned that this administration's definition of family life material is going to vastly differ.
Sally! Do something with Cyril now.
Go ahead.
From what parents would consider family life education. When it comes to
what? His what hurts?
Actually hurt.
Is he actually hurt?
That's what he said. No, his eyes hurt. His eyes hurt. Okay. Can you ask Sally to check on him, please?
Sally! Sally!
James!
James!
Crickets.
James!
I don't know what they're doing. I can't. Let's just go.
Jamesy, can you see if Anson's eyes actually hurt?
Okay, he's going to go check.
the sensitive topics, there should be no gray area. How can this administration be trusted when they repeatedly denied the theme of the book, Julian is a Mermaid? They should not be permitted to use books that are clearly marked as gender identity with a clear theme of gender identity, then claim a different lesson was used.
Mm-hmm.
That does not make sense. And we are talking about 7-year-old children. And all I've been saying this whole time is it's not age appropriate. If you want to bring these topics up, you can wait until a child is a little bit older. I think middle school would be an appropriate age, but 7-year-old, no, it's not appropriate, not for my 7-year-old. Parental consent should be required for all content that is classified under family life education, including sexual education and gender. You have a policy. If something falls under family life education, which includes sexual education and gender, you are supposed to have parental consent. You never had my consent to read this material to my daughter. So I'm asking this board to hold this administration accountable, to require transparency and parental consent for any material. There should be no gray area that would be considered family life education. So I've spoken to a number of families who agree and they want the same. And you want to know something? You know what I hear? I hear that people are afraid to speak out publicly because of the intimidation, the bullying, and the twisting of the narrative. Because everything the gentleman just said before me, that is a twisting of the narrative. There is no anti-teacher movement here.
It's not appropriate to yell at the board.
I'm
All right,
not-
I understand your,
These are my kids and I'm passionate about it.
I
So for
understand
me to
that,
be accused
but
of
you're
things
not
is
going to
inappropriate.
yell at the board. You can deliver it in a professional tone. Thank you.
Imagine.
Learn to behave yourself. Act like an adult. Be mature.
Watch your tone.
Watch your tone. Don't yell at the board. You can't yell at the board. First of all, she wasn't yelling. But what they're really saying is don't be passionately speaking to the board about things.
Yeah,
Some
don't
of us
tell us
don't-
what to do.
We start to feel uncomfortable when you do it. Plus, it's not your place. Plus, because you went to Fox
Look
News.
out, they'll be reporting you to Merrick Garland and putting you on the terror watch
So
list.
in comes the most horrible person in this whole thing. This is very typical. Darien, think yoga pants, wine box, boxed wine fan, BMW X7, Ukraine lawn sign. This is a woman named Catherine, Cathrn. She's got an interesting way to spell Catherine.
I want to say first categorically that I support the inclusion of Jessica Love's book, Julian is a Mermaid, as part of our social and emotional learning curriculum. It's an innocent, universal story about acceptance, and I'll say no more about that here.
Okay, Catherine, can I look at your little boy in his underwear? Is that okay? I just want to be accepting. It's fine. If that's
I accept him in his underwear.
Yes.
When I asked my son Tobin, to whom the book...
When she asked her son who?
Tobin.
What an a-hole Tobin is. You know he is. Oh, my God.
When I asked my son Tobin, to whom the book was read in his class, what the book was about, he simply said it was about a boy who wished to be a mermaid and his grandmother supporting him in that, and that made him happy. So, why are we here?
That made Tobin happy?
Mm-hmm.
I want to have my underwear, too, in front of people and to have wear a dress.
2 months of scary echo chamber critiques and politics that have escalated all the way up to national media and right-wing terrorist organizations.
Well, there
Where's
you
the
go.
right-wing terrorist organization?
There you
Did
go.
the Oath Keepers show up in Darien?
She's not done. Catherine is not done.
Oh, sorry.
Surely, teaching acceptance to our young children is more important than drawing critique from the Proud Boys.
Oh. Did you hear that?
Oh, the Proud Boys.
We bought our teacher flowers. We comforted our administrators. We reached out.
What happened to them?
The teachers?
And the administrators? That they had to
They-
comfort them?
They were called out for reading a book with a naked kid in it. So they bought her flowers.
Did somebody die?
Sorry.
What happened?
Disagreeing is okay. Asking questions is okay. You've made more than enough opportunity for us to do that. But bringing hate and fear into Darien is not acceptable and should not be tolerated. And maybe there's a story we could all read that would teach us about that.
Oh, you get the poignant.
That
part of
maybe Megan Wondros needs to read Juliana is a Mermaid
That's
a
right.
little
Maybe
bit
there's a
harder.
story. That's exactly
It's
right.
a little bit harder, yeah. But imagine the level of gaslighting you have to be at
Oh,
to
yeah.
be like, I mean, she's just trying to get the school to agree not to read it to her kid if she doesn't want to. Catherine, you're more than welcome to read books about little boys dressing in drag to your child, to Tobin, if that
Yes.
makes you happy and you
Yes.
like that. And why can't you just let Megan Wondros read the books she wants to read to her kid and not force your insane worldview on her kid?
Here's another woman named Paula.
I would like, me as a parent, as a taxpayer, I would like to ask for more transparency, transparency from the curriculum and the materials that are being used for our kids, and the input when it comes to the handling of politically charged ideological topics in our schools. There should be more caution in exposing our children at.
This is a problemo.
Yeah, we don't like this.
Yes, Paula does not seem. She may have some intersectional points here. This is a problem for the wine box
They don't like
people,
that.
moms of Darien.
An inappropriately young age to ideologies that aren't supported by a clear scientific
They don't like that
and
either.
societal consensus.
That is violence happening right now. There
Yeah.
is some trauma happening in that room.
Consensus. This is important to many families in Darien, especially since this administration has failed to earn the benefit of the doubt on these issues from us parents. So I would like to have more transparency. I think we have been a lot of surprise, a lot of questions that come from my children, from stuff that I have not learned in school when I was in school. Thank you.
It sounds very terroristic Proud Boy to me.
Mm-hmm.
So here's another guy named John, and he's a very interesting one. Also, you don't like to hear this.
I'm a proud member of our district's DEI committee, but tonight I'm speaking only as a concerned parent, one of many in town. I wholeheartedly support our teachers and students, but I do not support this administration continuing to use a book with some of our youngest students that unequivocally promotes gender identity themes while telling parents it's not used to teach gender identity. It seems like for this administration, even if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, acts like a duck, and is tagged in the school library as a duck, they're telling parents they aren't talking about ducks. It's preposterous. Why does this administration have so little respect for concerned parents' intelligence and basic common sense? If this administration is going to continue to push their gender identity curriculum on 7-year-olds, I would ask them to be honest and transparent while doing so. Doing something so obviously like they are, and then attempting to blatantly mislead parents about the motives and rationale behind it accomplishes nothing. They are only letting down the community they're supposed to serve. If their goal really was acceptance, the administration would have accepted the feedback that this controversial book was wrong, and it was a choice that could have been worked out with parents to find an appropriate replacement that wasn't divisive. However, they have instead chosen to double down despite all the clear evidence before them. It must be difficult to create acceptance curriculum when you don't practice what you preach. In my view, after all of this, it's crystal clear the selection of the book was never about acceptance. I believe the administration doesn't care about acceptance. Instead, they care about pushing their agenda no matter how much division it creates or how much national media attention it generates for our small town. So many of us choose to live in Darien for the fantastic schools. My entire K through 12 education was here in Darien Public Schools, and it was never like this. Once again, this administration is letting us all down. As we prepare to enter a new year, every Darien parent and resident should be asking themselves, is this really the best our town can do? I truly believe the answer is no. Our children and our community deserve better. It's past time for a better choice in this administration. Thank you very much.
He bowled a strike. That is a thoughtful piece of...
Well, yeah, because it returns the problem where it is, which
Right.
is the school chose deliberately a, quote, resource that they knew would be controversial and that supports a very specific agenda, and they don't care that people don't like it. They don't care. And they're blaming the people that are upset about it, right? And they could go back anytime and choose a different book. The book still exists. It's not being banned. It's not being burned. All the Catherine yoga pant moms in the world can read it to their kids and turn them into little trans kids like everybody in Melrose does, right? They can all do that if that's what floats their boat. No one's stopping you. The book's still out there. It's not like the Dr. Seuss books that literally got taken out of publication because they were so freaking dangerous that they were going to like kill people or something. But for them to push that as the only possible way to teach acceptance in the school system, when, like he says, that's the issue, is that they chose a book that they knew would generate this problem.
And that's why they're not backing off and giving one person an exception, because they're saying that this is how you have to learn acceptance. This is about acceptance. It has nothing to do with anything else. Is window dressing. Window dressing, sure. Is it borderline child pornography? Sure, yeah, but fine. No, all that matters is the concept is acceptance, and that's in the SEL learning. And so your kid has to watch this. They have to watch this.
Right.
Here's a guy named Doug.
One way to suppress meaningful and civil dialogue is to frame a nuanced issue in a binary way through the lens of something like compassion.
By the way, if you hear the door being the kids are creating a battering ram to try to break in here. That's what's going on right now. I'll start that again.
One way to suppress meaningful and civil dialogue is to frame a nuanced issue in a binary way through the lens of something like compassion. Ideas generated by people deemed to lack compassion are not worthy of being heard. Weaponizing compassion delegitimizes and discredits people who fundamentally see the matter at hand as a parental discretion issue, their immense and unwavering reverence for teachers notwithstanding. Every patient here wants to raise tolerant, emotionally intelligent children, but no parental or political tribe is uniquely adept at how to effectively do that while managing other important developmental considerations. COVID is a great example of a policy discussion that was moralized to the detriment of children. For 2 years, children were the collateral damage in their trusted adults' culture war over public health symbols. Outside of schools, Parents may read whatever books they want to their children at any age. There are many topics that aren't controversial or politically polarizing that I, for one, would like to discuss with my child before they are introduced in school. These include causes championed by both conservatives and progressives. I have read Julian is a Mermaid. It references relevant and sophisticated constructs like identity, authenticity, and the evolution of social norms. That it is not explicitly a book about compassion and tolerance speaks to its metaphorical reach. The question is, what is the appropriate age to initiate these types of abstract discussions and under what circumstances? Not whether these discussions are worthy of our attention or our children's attention. Parenting is difficult. Hence, I am generally in no position to tell other parents how to best raise their own children to become caring and considerate people. I hope that in the face of uncertainty, which seemingly characterizes the situation here, other parents will extend that courtesy by supporting an ongoing, transparent dialogue about mandatory aspects of the curriculum, and by not conflating parental deference in elementary school with lack of compassion or ingratitude for the incredible teachers who serve this community. Thank you.
So it gets worse before it gets better. Here's Alicia, and remember, the redirection of all that Megan wanted.
This whole conversation about books and banning books, especially certain kinds of books, aren't really a conversation coming from a local community concern.
In other words, Megan's been watching Fox News, is what she wants to say.
Yeah. Megan, you're a victim of misinformation. I hate to be the one to tell you.
That's right.
I feel like we are being subjected to, in our town, to some sort of more national political conversation about certain kinds of books and banning books and in schools. And it's frustrating as a parent.
Who's banning books?
Right. Well, we're not being subjected to a national conversation. You read a book about a naked kid to my class. That's local, okay? I don't think Megan was involved in national politics before this happened. You did this locally, and also you're the one saying that this is that Megan is a proud boy. You're the one who's saying that she's a terrorist. Okay, you're the one watching national news and saying, "Oh my goodness, they must be falling for Tucker Carlson. This is Hannity."
Parent, I would like to, if we can, redirect the conversation back to our schools, away from the sort of the right-wing echo chamber about banning books, and get back to supporting our teachers and education for all of our students.
The right-wing echo chamber of banning books, which is only something you could ever hear in a echo chamber.
Right.
Right-wing echo chamber of banning books. She just wants her kid not to have to read the book.
I'm like, I don't like that you read this book to my kid here in my local classroom, in my local town. And they're like, stop with the national Republican talking points. You're in such a right-wing echo chamber.
This is not the Arizona GOP. This is Darien.
Let's keep the focus local. And poor Megan Watros is like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the classroom down the street from me where you read this porn book to my child. And they're like, can you please refocus on the local issues and the local teachers, please?
One more woman. This woman's name is Meg. And it's pretty remarkable.
I'm actually going to deal with something that's probably going to be uncomfortable for most of you. But it's an elephant in the room, so to speak. So when I look at the Board of Ed, the makeup of the Board of Ed and the administration, every single person on the board and on the administration is white.
Uh-oh.
Now, understanding that obvious fact, imagine if I, a woman of color, was having a discussion with you, and during our conversation, you disagreed with my point of view and proceeded to explain why. How would you react if my immediate rebuttal to you was to accuse you of racism? You and I both know it's an asinine comment, but in this day and age, that charge is so easily swung at people, especially in these types of scenarios. It's such a paralyzing accusation, there's no way to respond to it. So instead of having a constructive debate on a particular topic, I'm now listening to you feel compelled to defend yourself from a baseless accusation. So the issue I have tonight is that something along these very lines is happening in our community right now. A short while ago, and she spoke tonight as well, a visibly upset parent expressed her concerns about material that was read to her child's second grade class. And what has since followed are accusations towards her and other parents who believe the same of being anti-LGBTQ and anti-teacher. This is just name calling, but ultimately it achieves its goal, which is to deflect from the initial query. So we need to be very clear about something. Raising concerns over material that's presented in class does not equate to someone being anti-teacher. Questioning the value of introducing topics that we as a society don't even fully understand yet to a very young audience does not mean you're anti-LGBTQ. And when no one stands up to illustrate how damaging and unfair these comparisons are, when there is no one in a leadership capacity to combat this destructive narrative, then all we have left are a bunch of name-calling adults trying to compete for who belongs to the greater marginalized group. The responsibility of the administration is first and foremost to the children of this district. It's not just to the children of parents who align with you politically, but all children. All children love their teachers. No single party should have a monopoly over teacher appreciation. No single party should have authority over curriculum. Political agendas should have no place at school. And I realize it was addressed earlier, but having someone come to the school during school hours offering political paraphernalia that suggests that only one party supports the school should not be condoned. This is within the purview of the administration. You are tasked with setting boundaries that what can and cannot be conducted at school.
You're at time now.
Yeah,
Thank
I bet
you.
she's
Thanks
at
for
time.
And this is why boards of education hate the public comment sections.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, she was brilliant. She was great. They're excellent. And, I think what it comes down to, and to me, like the theme of the news lately has really been, to broaden the scope off of Darien, to nationalize the conversation, as it were, is that liberals weaponize compassion, like that dad said, right? They take the idea that you should be a nice person, that everyone wants to teach their kids to be a nice person and to be kind and to be compassionate and to be accepting. Everyone wants to do that. And they take accusations that you're unkind to push their preferred political aims. And it is so toxic. It is so divisive. It is so disingenuous because it really has nothing to do with being kind. Everyone wants to be kind. Everyone wants to be compassionate. The problem is that the policies that liberals push when they are telling you they want you to be compassionate are anything but compassionate. They are so destructive. They are so cruel. They are chaos. And they are, the breakdown of everything that makes society good and worthwhile. They really, really are. And I say that, you might think that that's an exaggeration, but look, one of the news stories you sent me this morning was them, letting this rapist out or whatever, the criminal justice policies. There's been this video going around on all
this rapist was let out after he raped a 61-year-old woman. And is now gone. He skipped the court system.
Compassion. You don't want your criminal justice system to be mean. You just, you want to be kind to the rapist, so you just let him go. The kind criminal justice policies are so cruel, and they're cruel in particular to quote unquote marginalized people, or the places that got burned down in the 2020 riots were not Darien's.
Correct.
It's harmful to the people that you're supposed to be being compassionate to. And it's the same thing. This video that went around that's just nausea inducing of those kids beating up that kid in that Illinois high school. There's a kid with Down syndrome in a bathroom and a bunch of kids kicking and attacking him. And, Illinois, by the way, has in the last few years put in a policy to cut off this quote school to prison pipeline because that's mean and that's cruel and we want to have compassion and all this stuff to lessen the penalties for all this stuff, to keep police reports away. And those kids have now been transferred to other schools in a disciplinary way, but the bar for doing that is so high that problem children are essentially allowed in schools to run amok and do what they want and ruin education for everybody else. That's not compassionate. That's not kind, but that's what they do. Look at the drug policies in San Francisco, right? Every time you listen to a liberal who's telling you you're not being kind enough, you set yourself up for the worst possible outcomes for everybody. That's what their policies do. So this like appeal to can't you just be nice? Can't you just but just be kind? Just, use the pronouns. It's all about that. And like, even there was a great comment on Twitter today about like Sam Brinton, where Michael Knowles said he feels bad for Sam Brinton. This is the nuclear energy dude that is caught stealing women's luggage and all this stuff. And Cernovich retweeted and said, society needs to be protected from Sam Brinton, and Sam Brinton needs treatment from society. We must govern the way a loving parent should and protect some people from themselves. The guy should have been in a mental institution a long freaking time ago. But the compassion means instead that we put him out here in the world to humiliate him publicly in front of everyone, to allow him to steal from people and victimize people. I mean, I personally think if you steal people's luggage twice in broad daylight with cameras everywhere, that's like the tip of the iceberg of stuff you've been doing, frankly. Like,
sure,
I don't think you just steal luggage 2 times and like coincidentally get caught both times. The guy has a problem, and it goes back to this, like, we're going to be compassionate, we're going to be kind, we're going to accept his, whatever fetish he has as like totally normal and fine and good. Like, and for some reason we're putting him in the energy department. Like, it makes no sense. Like,
yeah, it makes no sense. And actually it plays right to affirming behaviors.
Yeah.
All through the lives of these people. You ain't helping.
It's all the kindness all along the road, just like the kindness to the addict. It's their road to destruction.
All right, Alice, and we may have the same theme tomorrow, because tonight is the Board of Ed in Ansonia, and that's where
Roman Moore.
Yep, Roman Moore is he's on the docket tonight. Daring to want to play. The kid is doing the right thing. Sorry, he doesn't wear lipstick and steal luggage. It is time for the Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce Hotline, Alice. As you know, we love Chelsea Fire Hot Sauce. It is our favorite. It is Wicked 180 compliant, and they give 5% of proceeds to the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. Are you ready, Al Shattuck?
Yes.
All right. Let's see how.
Hey, folks. Because I have family members who have had Mohs surgery on their faces to remove skin cancers, I always wear a hat in the summer or whenever it's really super sunny. And I always remove my hat in any restaurant.
Good man.
Removing your hat when you enter a building is a sign of respect. It should be done all the time. But because we live in a society where barefoot people just wander around in hotel lobbies, I'm surprised that guy was wearing pants. And we don't teach children any sort of respect, typically. I tend to remove my hat always, even when I'm with my 10-year-old niece, so that she will understand that you take your hat off when you go into a restaurant and you put it on an empty chair or on your knee. Just saying. Hope you guys have a great night.
Correct. And it also helps us, Dr. Cheswick, to be able to display a bit of sophistication above the animals once in a while. It's just good to remind ourselves that we've evolved a little bit more.
Well, maybe we should all learn from Julian and his abuela to be a little more accepting. And if people want to go half naked in mermaid outfits into restaurants and hotel lobbies, they should be allowed to do that too.
I had something else I wanted to call in about.
Replica Shattuck House.
But Alice is talking about the 50 Shades of Grey books I'm listening right now. I had to stop the podcast immediately.
Okay.
I don't even know where she's going, Tom. I know that she said they suck or they're dumb or whatever. But I can tell you without a doubt that was probably the best couple of months of my life.
Really? Oh, I see. I get it.
When my wife was reading those books.
Oh, good man.
It was outstanding.
Excellent.
So there's that.
I'm with him on this.
Okay.
So hopefully Alice can get beyond
Yeah,
and persevere through these books and do the right
Can't
thing.
do it.
Exactly.
Can't do it.
Alice,
They're not
you
readable.
You need to.
There's a scene I could read you out of those books that would put you off women forever.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Have you been to the Modern Butcher Shop in Newburyport? And if you have, what are your thoughts? Is it worth taking the trip up there? Because I look at the sandwiches on Instagram and they look amazing.
So it's a great question. I have not been to the Modern Butcher Shop. Now, if it's a butcher shop where you go to find steaks, I've never even gone.
Is that
to
the one our neighbor always sends us, where they do like the backdoor, like one-off sandwich things? Is that what he's talking about?
You mean our neighbor Dan?
Yeah.
Is it?
I'm gonna look up their Instagram. Hang on.
Maybe it is. I have not been. I've just. No. So like, I would never go to a butcher shop that's like selling beef, like stuff like that, because beef, like real good steak, is too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I would go eventually, but if it's like a sub shop that's selling sandwiches and things like that, I have not been.
No, they're like a literal butcher shop. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, but he's saying they make. They
make their own sausage. They make sandwiches.
I have not been.
Is this the one that's like right on the way into Newburyport that you drive by it? I don't know where.
I don't think so. I don't. We'll have to check it out. I'm sorry about that. I have my sub game for up here in my pizza game is not. It's subpar. It is. I hate to say it.
It's like on Merrimack Street. It's downtown. I don't know. No, we have not been there.
Yeah, so like
we're cheap.
Well, but I mean, we're cheap, but we're also not cheap sometimes, and we do spend money, and on stuff. And so we've been eating at DeLeo's Pizza. It's DeLeo's, right? In Merrimack.
I don't know. Is that where we go? I
Is it
haven't ordered
DeLeo's?
pizza in so long. I don't even know.
Well, okay, but that's we had been going there, and it was good. It wasn't like life changing. There were times in my life where I thought Andrea's Pizza in Stoneham or Woburn or Winchester was pretty much the best. I used to like the old Bolino's Pizza in Winchester. They're gone, of course. And I do respect the two biggies in the north end of Boston. What are they? The pizza places. What's the one that everybody goes
Regina.
to? Regina, and then there's another one too. But my favorite of all pizza is Tony and Ann's in Dracut. Which is
that's like its own animal, though. Like,
it is.
If I'm going to talk about like my favorite regular slice of pizza, that's not
what I would go to. I haven't done
to.
enough work up here, Replica, where we are, so I haven't been to like Tripoli's Pizza, which you're supposed to do. So I have let my pizza game fall short.
I'm a big
here.
believer in like a big floppy foldable slice.
I'll tell you,
pizza.
if you're not
That's
around, let us know where you are, because if you're not around here, I will send an away team to check out the modern butcher.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the kind of place where I would generally thrive. I'll check it out. There is another place too, right over the bridge in Salisbury, on the right hand side. It's like a Italian place, pizza and sub place. Also very interesting. I got a little confused in there and intimidated. A lot of times, the place are run by a very very gregarious, loud Italians. Sometimes I get a little afraid.
We know that, Tom. You've made that very clear about Italians.
I love the Italians.
Show.
I just get a little timid. They're very cocksure, Alice, and I'm scared. All right. We could also just... Here we go.
Hey, Burn Barrel.
Hey.
Hi.
I recognized something familiar in Tom's rant yesterday. He is definitely closing in on the get off of my lawn stage of life.
Yeah.
Well,
the age of 50.
He's been there a while, I think.
Where, Alice, you're going to have to be very compassionate the next few years. Things that are going to set him off: bare feet, cut off shirts, zillennials, the way people look, the way they blink, the way they breathe, are all going to be problems for Tom as he goes through his early 50s. I wish you luck with this, and I hope you have a support system to deal with it.
Another thing is, Alice, what's the deal with everybody walking and running with like strobing lights attached to themselves now, and their dogs? It's like everybody looks like they're on the Running Man and Schwarzenegger movie now, in like some main streets. It's not just like the dark streets, I understand, But, take a chance. Certain number of you need to get hit and die, okay? Just have some self-respect.
So I was just listening to...
What's the deal with strobing equipment anyway?
I know.
Sorry, go ahead, Robert.
So I was just listening to the end here, and Alice is talking about church, and it kind of gives me a thought that I usually have, kind of like a Justin thought, probably. I never understand anybody that follows the rules of church. Well, the church I went to anyways. Giving up something for Lent, don't eat meat on Fridays, don't do this, don't do that, whatever it is. Like the only thing you ever have to do is go to confessional, because you can do whatever you want throughout the year. You go to confession, you're absolved of all your sins. So eat meat on Fridays. Don't give up anything for Lent. Do whatever the hell you want. Just go to confession.
Clean the slate. Have a rock and roll week and clean the
Common
slate.
misconception held by a lot of Christians too, by the way. But first of all, there's a difference between committing sins that you need to confess and not doing spiritual practices for spiritual growth, like fasting, prayer, almsgiving, things like that, right? But the idea being that doing those practices is not an end in and of itself, that both the Catholic and Orthodox Church have writings of church fathers that say that, fasting from food without prayer is like the fast of demons, because demons don't eat and they're still not good, right? The idea isn't that you're like not eating the food because eating the food is a sin. The idea is that you're not eating the food to like strengthen yourself spiritually over your base animal desires that you don't have control over and that actually have control over you, so that you have the strength to actually not be sinful, right? But and it's like going to the gym to work out. You're not doing it so you can move a weight from here to here. That's not the point
Sister
of the
Mary
thing.
Catherine is
right?
walking down the classroom aisle to the ruler right now.
Okay.
There's a chill in the
Well,
air.
anyway, that's the point. The point isn't that, you just show up to confession and it all goes away. The point is that you actually want to be a spiritually strong person. But anyway, people bring up this stuff. They want answers. Anyway, thank you so much for listening even to the last parts. I assume everyone skipped that part, but that's okay. You can join the live chat on Patreon if you want to. That is at
I so hope the ad
patreon.com/burnbarrel.
coming up is some kind of S&M ad.
Patreon.com/burnbarrel. You can always find the show for free at burnbarrelpodcast.com and burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com.